All right, let's talk comics. Hey, hey, baby, I like it like that. I like it like that. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this special Saturday edition of the Creators Table. I know last two shows, last night and today, I have not had a proper opening. Please forgive me. I've been crazy busy, but I am pleased as punch. I am tickled pink, if you will, with my next guest, all the way from Scotland, heart of the Braveheart, home of the Braveheart, and all kinds of rebels, which I enjoy. Anyways, this gentleman's art is absolutely fantastic, a whole nother level. I've been blessed to have done some cover work for me and hope to work with him more in the past. Anyways, enough pussyfoot in the ground. Let's get right to it. Please welcome Neil McGregor. Hello, Neil. Thank you for being here. How are you, sir?
Very well. What an introduction, Chris.
Oh, well, I speak facts. I only speak facts on the Creators Table. Man, it's good to have you on here. I'm so glad that you agreed to come onto the show. As you know, I'm a huge fan of your work. Your art is absolutely stunning.
Thank
you. We'll go through and highlight some stuff here after a bit. But why don't you tell the folks a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Neil. As you said, I'm from Scotland, and I'm a part-time artist, you would want to say. I'm self-taught, so I've not had any formal education. I've just kind of grown up wanting to draw. I've always drawn. I'm dyslexic, interestingly enough. And the creative side of my brain, I think, works a lot better than the analytical side. So drawing's always been something that's been quite natural to me, to be scribbling in a bit of paper, for good or ill, right?
Right.
And it's only relatively recently in my life, I think, that I've discovered social media and kind of dipped my toe into putting my artwork on social media, and a lot of good things have come from it, like meeting yourself, you know.
I appreciate that. You know, that's interesting. You mentioned dyslexia, because I was never formally diagnosed with it, but my youngest son is.
Yeah.
And with everything that he experienced and went through, I was like, well, I had the same issues. You know, I had the same problems. And of course, back then, you know, I'm about 100 years old. So back then it was, you know, oh, you're just lazy. You know, you don't want to focus, you're lazy, blah, blah. Because I was a daydreamer, you know. I mean, if I lost interest, I was looking out that window and creating worlds in my head. And that's definitely what sparked my whole creative mind. So I thought that was a pretty interesting connection there you just made.
Yeah, it's really common. I went through all my formal education, not with art, just like with school and a bit of college as well, without knowing. And I find it really tough. I find it really tough to plan and organize. And I always felt more comfortable visualizing things with a pencil than I was able to create a narrative for something or verbalize things. I think even now, I still sometimes find it difficult to verbalize. I mean, it's easy to draw it, weirdly. So, you know, if you can do well as an artist, that's a great trait, right? But it wasn't so great at school. When there were projects and they were like, write a story about what you did in your holidays and then do a wee drawing at the end of it. And I would hand mine in and there would be this great elaborate drawing with no story. I'd spent all the time doing the drawing. So yeah, it's interesting. My parents have actually worked for the Scottish Dyslexia Association, and it's only when they'd started working there that they'd actually thought, oh, Neil does that. Neil does that. And they probably put the things together and worked out that, yeah, there might be something in that, you know.
Yeah. The human mind is just so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thankful you mentioned you're dipping your toe in social media. You know, I'm totally thankful you did, because of course Instagram is where I just found, you know, came across your work. And you know, there's one piece of yours, and I've said this a few times to you, I'm sure I have. There's one piece that just stopped me dead in my tracks, and it's this piece you did of Christopher Lee as Dracula. And the thing that struck me about it was the eyes.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
Captured his eyes, just shot, and this the expression in them. I'll show that here in a bit.
Okay.
I'll share the screen and show your Instagram account and just go over some of your art. But that Christopher Lee, it's just breathtaking. It's the expression in his face and the eyes. And yeah, because I remember we did talk about that when we were brainstorming about Sangre de Cristo
cover. Yeah.
And I had mentioned the eyes.
Yeah.
It's just something about them that's striking.
It's an interesting thing. I always try to stay when I'm drawing on social. I don't draw for social media. I draw because I love to draw, and then I put the pieces that I want to onto social media, whether it be sketches or full pieces. But it's an interesting thing that I feel like social media has been a great thing for me, and it's been a crux as well, because social media, I wouldn't have got any of the work or the experiences, or I wouldn't have got to meet cool people like yourself if it wasn't for social media. If I hadn't put my work out on Instagram, I would still be at home with a pile of drawings and pads, because then you're really limited. I don't have a degree, so I can't get my art in a lot of art galleries in buildings. So this has been a blessing for me in that sense. That's been really, really good. So I'm really thankful for that. But it's an interesting thing that there's a juxtaposition with social media in which there is a temptation to draw for likes, for followers. And I fell into that for a wee while, and my work suffered for it.
Interesting.
And so it's something I speak to if ever I get and listen, I'm not an expert, but sometimes artists that are maybe just starting out will reach out to me and say, like, you know, I want to have a presence on social media. I can see you've got a presence. How do you do that? What's your and the advice I will give, and if there's any artists listening, honestly, the advice I would give is don't draw for social media. Draw because you want to, and draw the things that you want to draw. Don't be influenced by, oh, that movie's come out, it's popular, I'll draw that thing. Draw stuff you love, because that will show in your work 100%.
Yeah.
And I found that when I wasn't doing that, it didn't. And the reason I'm talking to you about that is because that really rings true in that Christopher Lee piece. That I grew up with him. He was the first horror movie that my dad let me watch when I was a boy, was the Hammer horror films.
Yeah.
Hammer horror films blew me away when I was a kid. Watching Christopher Lee as Dracula, I think he's untouchable as Dracula. I really do. Watching Peter Cushing, watching the Witchfinder General, and all these films, it blew my mind, and I fell in love with horror at such an early age because of those movies. Do you know? So it was always in my head that I wanted to draw these people. And Christopher Lee's just such an iconic character, so I really want to spend my time in it, and I'm glad that it's resonated. And interestingly, I took that piece along with a few others to HorrorCon in Glasgow early in the year, and it's as a display piece. and someone that was there reached out after to say that they couldn't stop thinking about it and have purchased a piece. And I love seeing a piece of work that I do go to a home that it's going to be loved, right? People are going to love that piece of work, and it was lovely to hear that someone had gone home and was still thinking about that piece of work and reached out for it. So that was a real validation for me.
And I'm not trying to harp on this one piece, but it was so powerful. It got me that there were two pieces that jumped out at me. Of course, the Christopher Lee, and then the other one is the Mandalorian, when he's like flying his ship, and it's kind of a close up of his face. Because the first time I saw that, I thought that was a photograph. I was like, oh, he must be a Mandalorian fan. Like, he's got a still here. And I clicked on it, and I realized that, no, that's not a photo.
Yeah.
And I know some artists take that kind of as an insult to say I couldn't tell it was a photo, but I mean it from the highest of praise, because that's another thing. I'm absolutely fascinated with people who can do a photoreal image with, I'm not, do you use brushes? Do you start with pencils?
I don't think that I do that. I mean, it's very high praise that you're saying that I do. So it's really nice of you to say. I don't think I do that. I don't think I would class myself as a photorealistic artist. I'm into brush strokes. I'm into pencil strokes. I think probably a feature of my work is that you get to see that as well. Mm-hmm. I know what you mean with that drawing, and it's an interesting one because the Christopher Lee one that you talked about was created with a bit of paper, some marker pens and pencils, and a lot of time and effort and love. And the Mandalorian piece was created digitally, hand-drawn, and then hand-painted digitally. And both, I think, ended up taking about the same time. I think one was about 16 hours, one was about 20 hours, not too far away from each other. So it's an interesting comparison, right, between what I do traditionally and what I do digitally as well. And that was me probably dipping my toe in the water of digital art and learning how to paint and how to draw digitally as well.
Well, it blew me away. And again, we'll go over that now. Typically what we do here on the Creators Table, what I really like to do is again, the creative mind I find to be very fascinating, and I really like hearing what started this journey of creation. And for me, it was the fact that I was a daydreamer. And I hated school, and hardly any class ever piqued my interest. I was just bored all the time. And I would look out the window and I would see something that maybe reminded me of Spider-Man or something. And I would immediately go into this. I would start just seeing something play out in my head. And that's what I would start thinking about. And that gradually turned into just making up little stories. So can you kind of pinpoint, was there an event or a book or something that lit that spark for you to want to?
It's probably worth splitting it into two, talking about events and influence, because I think that they're maybe the same and different at the same time. So pretty circumstance as well. So when I was really young, my granddad passed when I was really young, but he was a really good artist. And I think he knew that I liked to sketch. And I'm talking when I was 7 or 8 years old, like really young. But he obviously seen something in that and thought, right, I'll show him the ropes. And he taught me basics. I remember he took me into the kitchen in Edinburgh and put down like a fruit bowl. I was like, draw that. So I drew it. And then he took me, he took watercolor. I'd never seen watercolors before, and taught me watercolor, just the basics of watercolor. And that really heavily influenced me. And I didn't really understand how you could do stuff like that before that point. And I was really interested. And it was, I think, probably because I always felt very highly of him. And for him to be an artist, I thought it was quite impressive. When I grew up in Edinburgh, I don't live in Edinburgh now, but I grew up in Edinburgh. There was always street artists in Princes Street on the floor, on the pavement. They were terrific as well, and I remember that really resonating with me. But as I grew up, I think being a movie fan was more an influence than artists. I fell in love with movies, and I'm of an age where I grew up looking up at the horror section in VHS and old videos, and the old covers, the old horror covers, there were usually these beautiful paintings. There's an artist called Matthew Peake, who was the artist responsible for all the original movie posters for Nightmare on Elm Street, all the whole franchise. Right. And those were the ones that I just thought, my God, they are beautiful. Do you know the ones where you've got, it's almost like the collage, right? With the claw, like I remember, was it Freddy, what's the woman, Freddy's child? 4 or 5, and you can see the glove, and in the middle there's the pram, the kind of demonic pram with the light coming out and Kruger's above it, and it just, those, I fell in love with those. I thought that really sparked my imagination.
Yeah.
Those kind of stuff, do you know? And then I think that really influenced my drawing. And then in my life, so about 5 or 6 years ago, we lost our son, Aaron. And up until that point, I was drawing, but I hadn't done anything on social media. And it was at that point I actually started drawing more consistently, probably just to quiet my mind, because it was a difficult time. Sure. And it was my wife, Natalie, who had suggested, well, you should put them on social media and see if anyone likes them. So I did. And that was what probably sparked, interestingly enough, this whole journey, was the loss of our wee boy. And it always had in my head that Instagram would be a tribute for him, and then I have a daughter out there as well, so a tribute for them, do you know? So that's where it started. That's where I probably started drawing consistently. I'd always loved horror movies, and I'd always had I love art, any art. I love music, I love film, I love all that kind of stuff. But I feel like my head was always, I like that, I like this, I like that, I like that, and I was never focused on anything, do you know? And it was only once I started putting work on Instagram, it drove me to have a focus. And then putting myself in, and this is another hint and tip I'll give to any artist out there. If you want to do well, I put yourself in uncomfortable positions, because every time I started saying yes to things I thought I couldn't do has completely changed the direction of my work, and the quality of my work has improved massively by saying yes to stuff that I don't feel comfortable with. So that's really helped me. But I think that's all come through social media, and that's all come through from those life events.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does it work? When you go to create a piece, does something just hit you and you think, oh, I need to put that on paper, or do you see something and it kind of gets the wheel moving and you think, oh, this would be a great image? Or how does that work for you?
I don't know. It depends what it is, right? So it's a lot of my work is, I guess you could class fan art, right? So it's created from reference, created from a movie reference or an image in a movie and stuff like that. So sometimes I just see images that resonate with me, I just want to draw it. And I go through these periods of drawing with different mediums as well. Where before, I think I was drawing a lot with marker pens, and I've not done that in a while. For a while, I was working on, I have about 50 or 60 blank comic book cover variants that for a while I was working on, and I'm just haven't done that for a while. So I unashamedly just jump between stuff. But that's how I'm learning all the time, do you know? And it's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing that you're learning all the time. And recently, I've just started working with, see this guy right here. This is the cheapest pen you can find. This is about, you can get about 3 of these for £1. They're really cheap, but they're brilliant. These guys don't bleed. It's like a pencil with more gradient, with more variation. And I just started using this. And I did it for a few reasons. One, because I just love the medium and I love working on it. So you'll see, if you look on Instagram recently, you'll see quite a few of those kind of pen sketches, because I've enjoyed doing it recently. But I also want to let people know that you don't have to, if you want to be good at something, you want to be good at drawing, or you want to class yourself as an artist, you don't have to throw hundreds of pounds of quality paper and hundreds of pounds in a great pen set. You don't. You really don't. You do this easily. Or you can buy a pencil for 50p and you get a bit of paper and you can just draw and just enjoy yourself, right? And you'll get more from that than anything else. So I don't really know. I think it's just stuff that resonates with me, stuff that I like, that I'll draw. But at the moment, I actually don't have that luxury at the moment. I'm working on, I'm working with a writer for a brand called Gene Queens. So I'm working on a 45-page interior at the moment. And then I've been further commissioned for a 60-page interior book. So at the moment, all my effort, honestly.
Wow.
So that's my focus at the moment, is working on those interior comic book pages.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Very grateful for it, to be fair. And it's a real challenge. I think everything. I feel really lucky, and this is not to ban it, because I think you're a brilliant writer. I really like your work, and I've always tried to work with people that I resonate with, rather than just for the money. Right?
Sure.
It's lovely to get paid, but I think importantly, I want to work with people that, firstly, I like. When I read your work, I resonated with that immediately, because I love my history. I love kind of gothic horror. I love the whole cult stuff. All of that worked for me immediately. So I thought, right, I want to work with this guy. But you don't know sometimes until you start working with a writer what you're going to get. Some people might squeeze you and tell you, I want you to draw in this style of that artist. I'll politely decline that, because you've picked me for a reason, surely.
Exactly.
Right? And in order to get the best out of me, my best version of the work, you have to give me some wiggle room to be able to do what I do best. And I think I can work better for you. And you were brilliant with that, to be honest. You gave me all the room I needed. It was a real collaboration.
It really was, and it was fun. Like, I had a blast.
Yeah.
Even though we were just like texting, you know, back and forth. You know, it was a good time.
It was, it was, and it was nice to. It was. I think we made something really cool. I think we made something we can both be proud of, to be fair. And there's room for more in that series, right? We've talked about 2 other covers. At some point, we'll do those covers, because I think they'll look phenomenal as a 3-piece. But that was a real collaboration of work, and that I love that, you know. And that the author that I'm working with at the moment, a gentleman called Seatel, who owns Gene Queens, is just like you, Chris. I'm just so lucky that he is up for a collaboration. He'll send me a script, but the script is like, if you think that needs to look different, if you think it needs to be, and sometimes I'll feed back to say, do you know what? For me, a comic book, as an artist, the challenge is to tell the story in the art and not in the lines. It's almost like the text has to support the artwork, but the story has to come through the imagery. So it's like, write less, draw more. And sometimes, you know, I'll go back and say, see, with this author, I'll say, maybe, you know, I think we're too text heavy. And he's like, tell me what you think it should look like, and we do it, and it works. And collaborations are just they're brilliant. You know, when they work, they work. I've never I've never worked with somebody that felt the need to squeeze me, which has been lovely, to be honest. I feel very lucky.
And you know, I think it's short-sighted of a writer to put an artist in a position where they're kind of hemmed in, you know, especially with an artist as talented as yourself. I knew, like, I want you to do everything you can. I'll use all of your skill and ability. Like, you know, that was my point of view.
Yeah.
And my point of view is also that an artist is going to have a better idea of what's going to draw a person's eye to the image, and, you know, how best to place things to keep a viewer engaged into what they're seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a much better idea of that than I am. So that was, at least that's my opinion anyway. So,
And to
That
be
was
honest, I'm still see that thing is I'm far from a finished product. Far from it. I don't even know what that would be, to be honest. But like I'm still learning all the time. And I think that the comic book art that I'm now heavily ingrained in wasn't always the thing I was doing. I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to work on some comic book covers, and that was me dipping my toe into that world, and I just learned as I went. Do you know, it didn't come naturally to me at first. I had these skills, I had a good idea of what I wanted stuff to look like, but when I started creating it, it didn't look like that thing. And it's through, I guess, trial and error, right? You practice and you make your mistakes. And I think that the piece we created together, that cover, has got me to a place where I thought, yeah, that's representative of what I want to do. Do you know? And you know, even building your cells and deciding where you place things, it's a learning experience all the time.
absolutely.
What do the cells look like? Do we do thick lines? Are we just box, box, box? Because sometimes that can be boring. So you're always thinking about the reader as well. It's not my book. It's someone else's book. It's their author, but I feel so responsible for it. So when I'm drawing, I have to think, I don't want to just draw the pictures in each cell. I want to make sure each page is exciting and it's different and there's movement and there's got a flow to it that tells the story as well as you can. So there's so many elements that I didn't consider when I got into it, but I love the process. It's really cool, and yeah, it's good. It's good fun.
Well, that love definitely comes through in the finished product, man. I mean, you know, I've seen your posts on, and you shared a couple of pages with me of what you've done for, you know, experimenting with a different type of style.
Yeah.
Was it medium you were using was different? And just fantastic stuff, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
And the thing that's really, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say the reason I keep showing you that stuff is because I'm excited to work with you again. That's why.
The thing that's so great about the cover that you did for Sangre de Cristo is, and I'm not bad mouthing any other artists here or anything like that, but what you created there, it's more than just a comic book cover. It's, you know, there's a few artists out there who do a comic book cover, and it transcends being just a cover for a comic book. It's a standalone piece of art, and you know, the ability to convey the feel and the mood of what the story is overall. Like that piece could be a comic book cover. It could be a cover for a novel. It could be a movie poster. I mean, it's just, it's bigger than what it is going to be initially.
It's an interesting, it's an interesting take, and thank you for saying that. Like, it's really nice to hear. It's an interesting one because my challenge to myself that I always said to myself is like, if I'm going to do this, this is going to be what I'm going to do. I'm going to work with comic book artists more and more. I need my traditional art, my digital art, the way I draw digitally, to represent what I do traditionally. I need the two to marry up. And I think for a long time, it wasn't that. And I was creating good work, but it didn't feel representative of what I do traditionally. And I really wanted to get to a place where I could say, I think the two are really similar now. And I think I'm about there now, do you know? But what that means is when I'm working on these cells, I'm working on one cell for hours in a cell. And it's like these interiors are now like wee mini artworks and the thing, which is great. And I think the pages look great. But they take ages, right? Because it's not just like panels of color. Do you know? It's because I don't work that way. It's not natural to me. It's more natural to me to create pieces of artwork. So every little cell ends up being these individual pieces of artwork.
And you know, I think that's a very European take on comics, because if you look at, and I've recently discovered that I'm a huge fan of European comics. Mainly, I've never been a big into the superheroes. Definitely not when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was all about G.I. Joe and the Nam. So those are my the big comics for me when I started collecting. And
Yeah.
then when I was in my 20s, I got into, Spider-Man and stuff. I mean, I always liked Spider-Man, but it was like the cartoons and stuff.
Yeah.
But when it came to comics, it was more, military type, I guess as grounded as G.I. Joe can be,
Yeah.
but, not people in capes. So
Yeah.
I recently discovered, probably in this last year, I've discovered European comics, and it became about when I was looking for artists, because I'd see just these beautifully done, like painterly style, and I'd click on it, and it would be some French guy. It was a lot of French artists. And then when I was, working on sci-fi stories, I started looking for European sci-fi artists, and I noticed Mobius kept popping up. I was like, oh, let me check out this. Who's this guy? That's beautiful. Boom, Mobius.
Yeah.
And then a lot of so anyways, what I'm getting at is that, American comics, it's that very stylized, I think of the extreme of that as like a Rob Liefeld style, exaggerated, stylized look. And have definitely gravitated more towards this painterly. To me, the painterly style, the painted style it reminds me of comics from like the 50s.
Yeah.
And that time frame, and that's not saying the American style isn't art, but to me that's more art. Like, I want to put that on a frame and put it on my wall.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes total sense, and I think I agree. I think that I've never personally resonated. Like, hats off to the people that do it, and there's an absolute discipline to it. But those really stylized comic book pages that are clear, thick colors, panels of blocks of color, there's an absolute skill to it that I don't have, because I can't draw thin. I can't draw like perfect lines, clean lines. I'm sketchy. I'm really sketchy. So how my work needs to represent that. It needs to allow that to happen. I'm quite sketchy, right? In my art, not as a human, but like in the art, right? I feel because of that, I have to do those kind of drawings, because if someone asked me to do just something that was really clean, really blocks of color, it would be a challenge. I need to learn it. Not to say I couldn't, but I don't think it would represent me. I don't think you get the best out of me if I was to do that thing. Do you know? There's a guy, Dave. Is it Dave McKean? I want to say Dave McKean or Dave McKean. Anyone that's listening that is a comic book fan will probably know this artist. He worked on a book called Arkham Asylum, and a Batman graphic novel, and I was gifted that book by my wife Natalie for Christmas a year, and it is beautiful. But it's drawn. It is a complete work of art. Sometimes you've got it's like a splash page with a couple of sketches on it, but everything is inside the asylum, and it's all almost from the mind of the Joker. So it's like a lunatic's asylum's. It looks like a lunatic's drawn it, and painted it, and it's all paint, and it's splashes. Like, nothing stays in the box. Everything spills out over everything else.
Wow.
You know, if you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend going to have a look at it. The book that you actually get, firstly, the first half is the graphic novel, and the second half is his art workings and the background of how he's achieved this thing. It's unbelievable. And that was a real influence to me. I remember looking at that and thinking, you can actually do anything in a comic book. You don't need to stay in your boxes. You don't need to, like, figuratively and actually, right? You don't need to stay in the box.
Right.
You can do what you want, right? It's just do what you want. And I think that he taught me to always challenge yourself to say, is this exciting enough? Have you done enough? You've drawn what they asked you to draw. Is that enough? Or do you think you can push the boat out, and can you do more, and can you go further? And I think in the book that I'm drawing for just now is a story called The Necklace. It's a horror story, and I'm really challenging myself to do more in this one. So I'm excited to see how this turns out, to be fair.
So you talk about horror.
Yeah.
Being a fan of horror films. I was the same. It was Sundays is when it would they would have a double feature they would start with old like Johnny Weissmuller Tarzan. I'd watch those, and then it would be a horror film. Whether it was Hammer or even it would be maybe like the Three Stooges or Abbott and Costello Meet the Wolfman, kind of stuff. They they would play these films, and I just absolutely loved them. And I got into horror at a very young age, and then of course progressed from there. But always had a love of the that period of the era of Hammer films, and it's the color, and it's just the whole atmosphere. There's something about it, and maybe it's because it's what I kind of cut my teeth on, But again, man, that Dracula piece just stopped me. So I think I've done enough talking about it. Let's look at your art here and see. Instagram, share, boom. Here we are. And let's make sure here. Let me do full screen. There we go. All right. So here's your account, Neil McGregor Art on Instagram. Go follow him. And here we go. Let's take a look. If there's okay, first thing I want to do, I got to go to the Christopher Lee piece. That's my favorite, and I love showing people this. God, I love that too. That is just fantastic.
Yeah.
I know it's got it. There it is. Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at those eyes. Gosh.
Yeah, I know it's an iconic image as well, right? Of Christopher Lee.
And I love that the gore, if you will, is so subtle. The subtle trickle, like down the corner of his mouth. It's just that's
yeah. But I think that's the thing about Hammer horror, right? Hammer horror never really was very gory.
Right.
It was the villains that were terrifying. Like he as a villain was terrifying, and it was his stare. When you're talking about the eyes, it was Christopher Lee's stare that was so frightening. I don't really remember a Hammer horror film with a lot of blood or people tearing chunks out of people, right? It was violent. I think if you think about like the Witchfinder General, the story of Matthew Hopkins, it was violent because they were burning witches and stuff like that. But I don't think you would ever class them as gory. Right. It was all in the story, right? And the stories were frightening too.
And Christopher Lee, what a masterclass of acting. Like just that expression alone, conveys so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's just something about this piece that just has always just struck me. So kudos. And then I like this too. I like Count Orlok. I loved this movie.
Yeah, I did
by
too.
The way. Oh, you did? Okay, cool. Because I know there's people out there who said they didn't like it or whatever, but I thought it was brilliant.
I think everything he touches is absolutely beautiful, and I'm so into gothic horror when they're telling. I like a story being told at the time where people believed it.
Yeah.
I'm all for horror movies in the modern age. That's cool, but I don't think I've been as excited as I have been a long time for Werewolf.
Yes.
Because,
I'm so looking forward to that.
Yeah, because I love a werewolf. I love a werewolf film. The other big movie influence in my life after Hammer Horror was American Werewolf in London, which is I have so much love for that film, and that movie's so close to my heart. I saw that when I was relatively young as well, and I think I must watch that movie about twice a year. I love it, and I think that the American Werewolf in London for me stands head and tails above any other werewolf film, simply because I don't think there's ever been a better change in sequence in a werewolf film than there has been in American.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And it's all in the light of day as well. Like it's in a brightly lit room. There's nowhere to hide.
Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere to hide. if you look at The Howling, their changing sequence was all in shadow, but American Wolf in London was in this bright light, and it was spectacular.
Yeah,
Can't
and
be
it
touched,
was
in my opinion.
centered on him. There was
Yeah,
nothing was even around him. Like he
yeah,
was just there in the
yeah,
middle of the floor in this room, and I think that's I mean that's pretty much the general consensus that to this day that's the best
yeah.
transformation
Oh,
sequence.
phenomenal. Will never be beaten.
And that final when he finally fully transforms and the final wolf image is just I don't think there's been one like it.
Yeah, I would agree.
A lot of people like the Dog Soldiers.
I love Dog
film.
Soldiers too. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, it's a
Very
good movie, but I still think that American Werewolf in London is hands down the best
Agreed.
werewolf design.
But both werewolves, Neil Marshall did so well with Dog Soldiers. I don't know, he probably had budget constraints as well, but he did so well with Dog Soldiers because there were guys in suits and there was animatronics and there was prosthetic makeup, but there wasn't any CGI, there wasn't any digital stuff there. It was just what they had, and I think the movie was all the better for it.
I agree. I'm really not a big fan of CGI transformations or CGI werewolves. What did you think of the Wolfman film with Benicio del Toro?
Really liked it up until the end. I thought, I think that was actually an example where CGI it wasn't too bad. I think that again, it's a gothic horror. I think the Wolfman looked great. I think that the even just like the imagery of the Wolfman running along the rooftops in London with the moon behind him, I thought was beautiful.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get on board with Anthony Hopkins' Wolf. I think that Anthony Hopkins' Wolf he looked a bit like a teddy bear, and then that battle right at the very end was really digitally quite poor, and I thought I kind of lost me a bit. But I thought overall it was decent.
Yeah, I wasn't too crazy about it myself, but and then I saw the most recent Wolfman with Julia Garner, I think is her name, and that was just bizarre. I don't know if you saw that one. I think that was a A24 or whatever that studio is.
Yeah.
Tank Farrett is joined. Hey, Tank, how you doing? Good afternoon to all of you magnificent people, he says.
Hi, Tank.
Smash that like button. Please do. But here's the Mandalorian piece I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So the Christopher Lee piece and then this Mandalorian piece just stopped me dead in my tracks. And like I said, I initially thought this was a still. But then as I looked closer, I could see like the reflection in the metal is just amazing. Just the whole thing is fantastic. This is I would love to have this piece on my wall.
Yeah.
And then of course these are fantastic. The Joker pieces. Do you have a piece that's your particular favorite, or is it like asking you which one of your children is your favorite?
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because you put a lot of effort in everything. I loved the Jaws piece that I did just because Jaws is another movie that's so close to my heart. So that one there, yeah, on the right hand side is the finished piece. I really enjoyed doing that. I love the movie. I love that scene. I think that's a terrifying scene of the estuary victim when you see the shark just drift under the water and pull him under. Then that's the first time you actually see the shark's head come out of the water and pull him under, and it's just a cracking scene. And I've never seen anyone draw it. Everyone always draws the classic scenes of Jaws when the fighting at the end with the orca. So I really wanted to have a go at drawing that. So yeah, I enjoyed that. And interestingly, that piece also sold at the original piece also sold at HorrorCon this year as well. So actually quite sad to see it go. But again, they clearly loved it. They came back to check it twice before they bought it. And I enjoyed doing that. I do plan, when time permits, to do a couple more Jaws pieces to continue my homage to that movie because I love it.
Right. Oh yeah, that's another classic, and that's a good point. Like as we were sitting here, and I was listening to you to speak about this piece, I started thinking to myself, I don't know that I've seen anybody draw this part from the film. And you mentioned that as well. No, you think you're 100% right. I've not seen that either.
If you scroll up to the top, you can see. I'll show you the. So just down a wee bit right there, right in the middle. That comic book page there is a hint to the new work that I'm doing. So this is the first page of the necklace that I've been working on. And this is probably giving you a bit of insight into the style that I'm working on just now. And it's almost like an extension of what I did with you, Chris, right? On that cover. The methodology is the same. The ink work is the same, but it's got I want it to have a really painterly background to it. And hopefully that comes through, in the work that I'm pulling together for this book.
Here's what, again, I love artists. I'm fascinated by artists. So we've got, not even the full face, but look how expressive. Look at how much is being conveyed in this expression here. Like that's got to take a lot of study of the human face and facial expressions. Same thing here. Again, so expressive. It's conveying, like you don't even need the word bubbles here to really see what these characters are feeling. Man, just really great stuff. What is this for? What's the project this is for? The necklace?
Project, the story is called The Necklace. It's a 45-page horror story under the Gene Queen's brand. So I don't want to, obviously it's not my writing, so I don't want to give away the story.
Sure.
But it's a really dark, twisted story from a very brilliant mind. So it's all kind of set in that room, in that kind of African hunting lodge, with these three principal characters, and the fella in the middle's gonna have a tough time of it, to be honest. With a lot of flashback imagery as well, so there's a lot of cool stuff to draw. But it's a dark story, so the artwork, it's a challenge, right? When you think about a story and everything's in shadow and darkness, there is you immediately think, right, I'm going to go with dark colors, but that can be a mistake. So there's a challenge to make. How do I keep it bright? How do I keep it vibrant and colorful? So it's a good challenge to keep you on your toes.
Well, that's a really good point, because it is dark. You can tell it's a dark space, but the lighting, you've actually got a really good handle on look at the shadows. The shadows follow the light where the light is coming from. These shadows are falling as they should from the light source. That's a great attention to detail right there. And, I like the shadows, of course, help to convey more mood. Just great work, man. And then, of course, I got to do a little self-promotion here with the Sangre de Cristo piece. Just absolutely beautiful. I love, again, the eyes. I love this. These eyes, the cross, and then the reflection. It's hard to see because of my my icon there or whatever. Can I move that?
Oh, yeah, you just drag it away. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, and then upside down.
But that's a great example of collaboration, right, between us, because I think you've been really clear. I think your description was it's a vampire noir story. Think about Seven, which again really resonated with me because I am a massive David Fincher fan. So when you were telling me, like, think of Seven, I'm like, I already think of Seven all the time. So that's cool. Like, I'm into that, right? And his stories are in Seven so bleak. Do you know, it's raining all the time, but it's beautiful. The way that, like, it's the whole thing, I think, stunning. And it set me off in a really good place. But I remember when you were really keen to have these kind of religious images everywhere, and that was when we came up with the idea, didn't we? We thought, well, that cross that's on the wall, what if the reflection showed an inverted cross underneath? So it's subtle, but it's there enough just for the more switched on readers to pick up on, which hopefully they do, because I think that's a really cool addition.
Oh, I know, man. It's just an absolutely stunning. I mean, when you first sent it to me, I just stared. I just stared at it and just took it all in. Just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you.
What? Okay, let's take a piece like this, for instance. This Predator piece again, just absolutely stunning. Did you just like, did you watch the Predator movie or something and thought, yeah, let me jot down the Predator?
Nah,
well, it's a commission. I just see it now. Yeah, it was a commission.
Yeah, it's a commission. Someone had commissioned me to do a Predator piece. Again, no constraints. The only stipulation was they wanted at least head and full body shot. They didn't just want a head. So I was left, and I was working again, as I have been recently, with this pen, as I've been telling you about. You can see it in the picture. So I was just using this pen, and I did a lot of research into references, models, people that have created busts and stuff like that of the Predator. Sometimes that's where the really cool reference come from, rather than the actual movies. And I came across this one. There was a reference. This was the reference. It was a really, I think, it was a model. I'm sure it was a model or a bust. And I just thought, wow, that image with the skull is so cool from that angle. And I thought that's the one I'm doing. So that's the one I worked on. So it's just using a reference, that one, honestly. And again, it's about just taking my time. What I think one of the key things that I've learned over the years is it takes as long as it takes. You know, there's a tendency when you're drawing and you get to a certain point and you're like, oh my God, I've done so well at this. This looks brilliant. And you rush the last bit. And work all of a sudden doesn't feel as good. Or you post the drawing half finished and you call it work in progress to look smart. But it's because the bit that you didn't do was the bit you weren't confident with, you didn't want to. Right. And trusting the process, trusting your ability and just taking your time, it takes what it takes to get it done. The detail you can see in front of you there takes ages. But I think the work's better for it. So why not take the time to represent yourself in the best possible way, right? And give someone, if someone is good enough to give you money out of their account that they've worked so hard all month to save up, then why would you not spend as much time as you can making sure that it's the best thing that you can do for them? Why would you not do that? And I think that's probably one thing I would say, that any time I've ever worked with anyone, you get 100% from me. And I think that's so important. People don't have a lot of spare money these days. So if people,
that's a fact.
You know, buying art is a luxury, right? So if someone is good enough to put their hand in their pocket because they believe in what I'm doing enough, then I'll give as much back to them as I possibly can, for sure.
Look at this cross hatching, like for the shadow, like I can't imagine how long that must have taken.
Yeah, that was, I think that piece was probably about 16 hours, I think, give or take.
Wow.
It's never done in one sitting. So I tend to draw once I've completed my day job, and once we've got our daughter down with Isla, once she's down to bed. So I'll probably start picking up a pen probably about 8 o'clock at night, I would imagine. So it's done over 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 nights or whatever it takes.
What can you tell us about this piece here?
American Werewolf in London. It's my homage to the film, right? I love it. Again, it's using a reference. I found a reference that I thought, wow, that's so cool. Drew this, and this is one of the print options that I offer. So I offer 11 print options at the moment from horror prints, and this is one of the first ones that I've done. I think the post that you're referencing is actually from a client that purchased the print. So it's lovely to see that they were happy with it. But such a cool image, and I really like the shadows and the darkness.
Just, again, the way you are using the light. I mean, that is a big part of what makes this image so just striking.
Yeah. All the print options that I have all been drawn on black. Just so there's some continuity with them, I guess, but I really like the black behind it. I think that looks really cool.
Whoa. That is super cool.
Again, that's just the same pen, right? This guy here. Yep. Yeah, that's just taking time. There's lots of black, so lots of cross hatching, but just taking time.
Just absolutely beautiful work.
Thank you very much.
Where are you on all? What social media are you actively on?
Just Instagram at the moment. Everyone tells me to get onto Facebook, right? Because that's apparently where you do well. At the moment, it's just Instagram. I have a TikTok account. It does show on my business card. Does my TikTok do anything at the moment? Not really. I need to get better at that. Social media is an education in itself, honestly, Chris. You'll probably have felt like yourself at some point, like just learning social media, understanding what it can and can't do, learning to ignore the algorithm and learning to ignore the comments. If someone doesn't like your drawing, don't be too devastated over it, all that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot that goes along with it, and I think that where I am in my life at the moment, and the fact that this isn't a full-time job, means that I probably can't afford to be on too many sites, because then you spend all your time managing those sites and not drawing. And I find that as this becomes more than a hobby, and it's now become I guess a career in some respect. I find that when I do have time to draw, I have to make a decision now. Do I draw, or do I do marketing, or do I manage my books, right, to make sure my taxes are like the manual side of it? There's more to do, because now it's like a business. Any time I can allocate to it, it's not necessarily time that I can just sit down with a pencil. And again, it's an interesting progression, right? That is the reality of trying to run a business. But yeah, Instagram at the moment. Instagram.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Well, and I think obviously you found for promoting art, Instagram is the top. For crowdfunding, not so much, but
yeah,
but because I ended up finding about different audience behaviors. So platforms have different audience behaviors. So I found that to be very interesting. A series of bats joined us. Damn, that is stunning art. It absolutely is stunning art. Then says, "Hey y'all, hey bats, good to have you here." So let's see. You've talked about the necklace. What else is on the horizon for you?
So the necklace first, and then I'm going on to a 60-page book called Noble Blood. So that's going to see me through the year, honestly. I can pick up other work throughout the year, Chris. But in terms of private commissions, I'll probably take on a few private commissions as I go. I am at a trading event at the start of next month in Paisley in Scotland. And apart from that, I probably need to get a shop, honestly. I think at the moment, the print options that I offer are just sold through word of mouth. So I think I probably need to get better at that. So that's probably my next step. But in terms of my drawing, I've got ideas in my head that the stuff that I know I want to do. I want to do more Jaws work, for sure. I want to meet more comic book writers. I really enjoy going to the trading events, because I think the trading events are really cool, not just for selling and promoting your own work, but also meeting really cool people as well. I always spend a bit of time just having a rake around and going to speak to people, shaking hands and understanding more about what people do. And you meet so many cool people and great comic book writers as well, So I'm excited to see, if there's more opportunities down the road. But at the moment, I've got my hands full with these stories. So that's my goal at the moment.
Well, I got to tell you, I think I've made it perfectly clear. I'm a fan. I love what you've done for Bootlegger, and I am excited to see this book, The Necklace. Please keep us all posted. I'm sure you will on Instagram. For sure. Everybody go on Instagram and follow Neil there. Neil McGregor Art, very easy. So go check him out and join him. Follow him there. Follow his journey and enjoy that art. Pick up a print And I think that's going to do it for today. Neil, I would love to have you back on another time
For sure.
and go a little more deep, maybe into your process.
Yeah.
And we can go from there. Any last words you want to say?
No, just listen. It's just nice to speak to you again, Chris. I'm a fan of yours as well. I know you're a fan of mine, but I'm also a fan of yours. That's why I wanted to work with you, right? So, if people are listening, they need to read your books, they need to read your stories because they're fantastic. If you're into horror and you're into and the imagination and the mingling with history, and it's just very good. It's very good. It's certainly my cup of tea, so I don't know why it wouldn't be someone else's. But
Well,
thank
I
you.
really appreciate you saying that. I do.
It's been nice, yeah.
I'll slip the money to you. All right. Well, thanks for coming here. Thanks everybody. Thanks for watching. Join us next week. We'll be at our regular time, Friday, 8 p.m. Central. I cannot remember who my guest is next week. Oh, Carol Brown, editor and writer, Carol Brown for the Rippaverse. So do join us for that show, and we'll see you next week. So thank you.